Oh, hello. Didn't see you there. Or the corny little intro going. What's up, fellas? I don't feel like gaming. I don't know. Haven't felt the vibe lately. I really haven't. I've been trying. The best I can hope for is like at the very end of the day, if my girl wants to watch some Love is Blind on Netflix, I'll put on like Dwarf Fortress. I just don't have the heart anymore for it, which sucks because I miss it. I miss it. Welcome. T-Rex live stream. What can I tell you? I hope the audio levels are good. This new mic is great. I love it. Hyper sensitive though, so I have to tweak it to get it just right. And on top of that, every time I go onto a StreamYard, it nukes my volume, so I have to go through all the settings again. That's crazy. I don't know how people handle this. It does force me though to stop yelling into the mic. The one thing I miss about the SM57, and if I ever go back, that's why, is I get to just yell because of my tinnitus. I can't really hear. So my volume modulation's off and it doesn't, I can take it. It's like, yeah, yell all you want. We got it. We got it. What am I looking for? There it is. Look at that. I see Sean, X-Runner, John Watts. Look at this. Does look and sound good. Yeah, it's got that like phallic to it. And I figure we're just gonna screw around. It's gonna be like behind the scenes. Behind the scenes. I don't do these much. And I've slowly been, so like over the last week here, I'm doing a lot of video editing. So I put on some of the other live streams of not just the Rule Zero guys, but like a bunch of other guys. And I'm noticing what's out there. And it's kind of crazy. I get the impression that a lot of people do these because they want a friend. And I don't mean that in like a negative way. I'm not making fun of it, but it just seems like, yeah, they want a friend. Not sure. Not sure that's the direction I would take with it, but that's fine. What am I doing? Oh, there it is. I'm gonna pull up some stats and stuff. That's good. You guys have ever, I mean, I don't know if you guys are curious about this kind of thing, so it'll be part of the, what is the work day of a red pill influencer like? Oh, funny you should ask. Funny you should ask. Could be the next B Mask if he keeps up these movie reviews. I don't know who B Mask is. Is that a Billy or is that a real thing? Yeah, figured. I'll never understand this guy, man. Never understand this guy. Oh wait, he said he was a real guy. Oh, now I feel bad. Oh, I can't remove it. I gave you a 24 hour. All right, you know what? That's on me. That's on me. I didn't realize you were a real person. You had all the hallmarks of a Billy account. Welcome to the channel. Get the F out. All right. Oh, B-Mask is real. Vector's real. All right, so that's on me. That's on me, Vector. I'll own that one. Son of a. I'm just trying to get everything up so I can just switch over to it when it's done. Oops. What else do I need? ACX. And ruling with an iron fist. Yeah, so I accidentally misclicked too because I was just going to do like a hide user from channel, but then he's a real guy and it'd be easy to remove that, but I accidentally did the timeout instead for like a 24 hour. The problem with that is it doesn't, you can't reduce that. You can't remove that. It's just there. Actually, I think what I might be able to do here, if I switch the timeout duration to 10 seconds, it might bring you back. We're learning about the algorithm together. Oh, right. That was the other thing. I wanted to get the studio stats. 3, 4, 5. I think it's all right. Oh, it's going to be showing numbers. We're showing numbers, fellas. Well, some things show numbers. Not everything shows numbers. Everybody's got their own analytics, and I'm not sure how to take it. All right. It's not paranoid. It's just I don't. There, and this might be me having like a boomer moment when it comes to understanding social media, but like the chat And the thing here, there's me running my mouth, doing whatever, showing the fancy charts, designs, that sort of stuff, right? But then there is the chat experience, and you guys will be chatting amongst each other. I see it all the time in the podcasts where you'll be having conversation 1 and I'm having conversation 2, which is fine. I don't got any issues with that. Mixer's all off right now. No issues with that. The issue is more so if somebody's in there just ruining it for everybody else, then they're not gonna, like, why would you stick around to a channel where it's just like the most toxic crap in thing, right? Becoming a real US citizen already, very trigger happy. Oh, Jesus. Slow down, fellas. I can only get so erect. And I hate doing these things live because, like, one misclick and I'll accidentally have something stupid that I shouldn't be putting on camera. Like an SSN number or some stupid thing like that. Actually, you know what I will do? I'm going to move this over to the red morning one. There's going to be some things blasting. Don't mind. Don't mind it.
I don't usually hear the story
about the article he wrote cuckolding his wife. Clear up the cuck article. Clear up the cuck article.
There we go. Yeah, so like, no, ours are SINs, SIN, social insurance number. Same thing. But I've learned it's very easy to just translate things automatically to civilian language and to American language when you're talking to people. Just have to do the calculations in your head. That's on me. After every episode of Red Morning, I usually forget to turn off all of the ads and stuff like that, and so they all just blast as soon as I open my software again. That's on me. The reason I was doing this, though, is I want... Oh, this is going to look weird. I guess I'll do window capture. I think that's the right one. That is the right one. Oh, good, good, good. All right. So what do you do in a day? This is what I do in a day. I look at numbers and shit. Who doesn't love life? I know this is probably less interesting than Minecraft, but it's actually the thing that's making it a little more interesting now. So the way you're supposed to run this is funnel marketing. It's something that started way back during the convention in Florida that shall not be named. All the boys were talking, and it was like the red pill thing was taken off, and we're seeing guys like there was no Tate or Myron back then. Who was it? It was 33 Secrets, Kevin Samuels, and I can't even remember. But anyways, they were like the talking heads. That was everybody on there. Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, and so they were talking about funnel marketing, and they were all a bunch of grifters, like the whole Florida convention guys, the Christian McQueen, the AJ Cortez. They were all funnel grifters. Funnel marketing, selling nothing. Affiliate marketing for like guerrilla mindset juice and all that shit, right? I get it. Very red ocean thing. It's all like who can build the biggest list, who can market to the biggest list. You're constantly selling things, you're pitching stuff. And it was nice because that was when I met Cooper Rich, and he had the greatest, and he kind of had his own as well. But he pointed out, it's like, why are you selling other people's stuff? Why don't you sell your own things? Which was his way of saying, why don't you make something? Like, why don't you create something of value? And I was like, how novel. I can see why you're the entrepreneur whisperer. So anyway, email marketing, and I was like, well, what do you do? So I subscribed to all of the guys' email marketing lists. Rollo had his blog, and it was just like his blog would collect your email addresses. He didn't know what to do with it himself, so he already had like a pretty big list. Me, I had zero. So I was just like, all right, so what I want to talk about, and I started treating it like emailing out a blog. And then when Cooper gave me the advice of like, why don't you create something? That's when I decided, oh, I'm going to write a book. Like Rational Mail already did top level stuff. Ironwood and Athol K were talking about in the weeds things. Practical Females, like, all the sidebar stuff was still there. So I'm like, what can I do that's different? And I'm like, well, why don't I do as like an auto fiction, right? You do one part sailor story for entertainment value, and then you put like 3 lessons afterwards. It was kind of like a mix of Jordan Peterson's 15 Rules for Life, mixed in with like Neil Strauss's The Game, mixed in with Bukowski's Women. And, oh, hey, what's up, Marty? I recognize you by your throat clearing. Just talking business. Well, if you laugh at me or with me, then yes. But I mean, technically, so does you guys. You guys is auditing the Fed and Fort Knox counts as entertainment value. So what isn't entertainment? Geraldo Rivera is going to go into the Fort Knox and then look for the vault, find a glass of brandy or whatever. I don't know which is going to be worse, if you guys find there's no gold in there, or if there's all gold in there. I think it's funny now. You guys are covering all your bases. There's either no gold, there's the appropriate amount of gold, or there's too much gold. God damn you guys. This is a Cernovich level analysis. We actually have that maple syrup preserve. Thank you very much. Oh, I don't want to show those emails. That's because the Quebecers were stealing it out. 90 days. I want to do the whole thing. All right, here, I'm going to quickly go over the email list thing. We'll come back to goofing around. No, it's fine. So the emails where you just send an email out, and I was like, what do I send? And I was just sending excerpts from the book. I'm like, hey, I'm writing a book. You guys, here's pieces of it. So I would love it if you like it, then you know what's in it. And then when it comes out, you'll be interested in it. At the same time, I started the YouTube channel. And then the idea of a funnel, it's not really difficult to understand as a concept. Its implementation is very bespoke, but you start with a top funnel. And that is, your goal is to have people learn your name and click on your funnel. So like sign up to Substack, subscribe to YouTube, that sort of thing, right? And that's why on Twitter, I'm such a fucking prick. Because it's like, being an asshole is what gets you attention. So I'm like, all right, fair enough. Rag on the Indians, rag on the Pakistanis coming into Canada, rag on Trudeau, make fun of feminists, start little fights. It's fine. A lot of guys like Andrew Wilson, and I'm not, and by the way, when I'm mentioning names here, it's not so much to berate anybody. It's more so just how I perceive their model from the outside, right? It's as obvious as no gold. We do our own auditing. It's stupid. So he's very good at top of the funnel stuff, yelling at hookers on OnlyFans on the whatever podcast. Awesome. But then I noticed, like, what is his funnel drive to? And it's some weird, like, how to debate. It's like an online course, how to debate online. And it makes, and then that's when Rollo kind of had his whole, there's idea guys, there's money guys, and there's marketing guys. And I get it. And he's firmly an idea guy. And I'd like to think I'm firmly an idea guy. MLD John was firmly a marketing guy. Cooper was firmly a money guy. And I see Wilson, he's firmly a marketing guy too. And then the one thing you always find with the marketing guys is when they do eventually have like a product or a service, it's usually, now John's is pretty good. For some reason people don't understand. I'm like, dude, his body language mastery was actually good for what its target audience needed and what he was delivering. It was actually, you can tell he used to be a teacher. But then I'm like, is it easier to be an ideas guy learning marketing? Or is it easier for a money guy to learn ideas? Or is it easier for a marketing guy to learn ideas and get money? I still don't know the answer. I have to assume it's, ideas guy. So anyways, email list was going for about 3 years. It made it to 2,800 people, which is, it's not small for an email list, but it's not like top tier either. It's okay. Now, they had a bunch of numbers they attached to it, like what is the CTR, like what's the click-through rate? And the idea is if you have a good email list, more people that you send things to will read the things you send to. And that's a combination of a list of people that are actually interested in your brand, as well as the level of content that you deliver in your emails. Because if you're just sending out crap, like I remember AJ Cortez, I was reading one of his, and he was just eating a bagel, talking about it like the most basic bitch Starbucks trip ever. And then at the end of it, he had like 3 lines about carbohydrate loading for fitness. And I was like, holy shit, there's no way people fucking read this. There's no way. So they tell you it's like a 5% click-through rate is good. If you can get to 50%, you're essentially stellar. Like if people read half the stuff. So I think I'm up at around like 30%, I think. 30, 40. Actually, no, like 45%. It depends. It dips a little bit if I stray from field report stuff for too much and I just start doing full book marketing, which it's fair. So I try to do a balance of that. Anyways, so then Stefan Molyneux, right around this time, remember when he got his MailChimp account banned? Some girl said he was a misogynist and then they nuked his email list. And I'm like, holy shit, that's not good. And so right about the same time, Substack was talking about their subscription model. I'm like, oh, that'd be kind of cool. So I signed up to this one, and because like MailerLite was the one I used, and they were charging about $6,000 a year. Oh, it did work. That's awesome. It costs about $6,000 a year, which it's not bad. I mean, it's whatever. As far as expenses go, it's pretty cheap. But at the same time, it's like, well, Substack does it for free. So I've gotten onto them, brought the list over, and that started about here in 2023. And as you can see, it's for the most part, it's been a steady climb ever since. And whoever tells you that fame is instant is fucking lying to you. Everybody I've talked to who has their own growth curve with mailing lists, it all looks like this, a very slow and steady rise. And I think that's fine. I really do agree with the slow money. Now, how I got this boost here, I don't know. I don't know what happened in March 2023. I almost want to say that's probably when Dread, or I guess we could check. No, just, I guess, Praxeology had been out for 3 months, or Frame. Yeah, Frame would have. Frame has been my bestseller, so that makes sense. Yeah. So Frame came out about here. I would assume then that this is probably when Dread came out, February 2024. Same thing. So right after Dread. Interesting then. So right after a book comes out, I get Substack subscribers. So this is something I should have done a long time ago, but noticing this, I'm like, what I should be doing is pushing the Substack really hard in the books. Add those to the thing. I might add a little thing too. And then like Substack has its own thing for paid subscribers. So like everything, I was like, okay, if somebody wants to pay to join this one, first off, there's your pricing model. I always treat this as disposable income. I'm not trying to like get rich off of other people, because I noticed, what's his name? Drew, Zach Small. Yeah. He had his own little masculine community of excellence. He was charging like $100 a month. It's kind of similar to Paul's Beer Club, only like a lot of hype. And then he instantly is like, hey, bought a new truck, took the wife on vacation. He started just flexing money instantly. And I was like, if you got a paid subscription service to guys where all you're offering them is camaraderie, and then you're sending war room photos about how awesome your life just got with all your new money, I'm like, I think that's going to be off-putting. I really do. Yeah, well, I mean, the mailing list has always been excerpts from the books. Because other than that, or the occasional blog post, I don't like the idea of just sending like what else are you going to send? It has to be something of value. I don't want anybody to read shit that's just like a waste of time. I'm not going to tell you about my breakfast in a thing. And it's funny because I noticed, so as I do this, it's hilarious, because during this whole time, I was watching this before Dr. Jeff Miller and his crew blocked me because I was mean, which whatever. It's like, I'm like the only guy in the sphere who hasn't fooled around with your wife, you weirdo. So like, leave me alone. Serves me right. Every time I'm nice to somebody is when they get all angry. It's when I'm yelling at, when Rolo yells at somebody, they stick around for forever. Oh yeah, yes. So I'm noticing there was a lot of academics who wanted to start courses. The idea is like, dude, the internet is great, maybe we can do a course just the same way that like MLD John is doing. And so they start their courses, but they don't market for shit. They don't have any funnels. And so the courses generally don't work out. And they realize like that's why they like the university system, because they don't. At the same time, on the other side of things, I see a lot of book authors. They're writing books and they're desperate to find a publisher because I can't market. Nobody buys these books. Nobody reads anymore. And I'm like, what's your funnel? And they're like, what the hell's a funnel? And then they find out not only do they not market, but they actively like, oh, that's disgusting. You'd hate to what? Like you hate to have people know you exist, find out about your book. You spent a year writing your science fiction, fantasy, erotica, and then you can't be bothered to spend like a couple months promoting it because of all that work. It's like, dude, if you don't care, nobody else is going to care. And so I was noticing this, and it's like the only people using funneling stuff well are grifters. And it's because grifters don't have that moral revulsion against promoting your own work, against thinking you actually might be good at what you do. It's absolutely hilarious. I stand vindicated in my statement way early on when Illimitable Man had his whole monetization of the manosphere cry fest in 2020. When I'm like, dude, if all these guys are taking red pill stuff and throwing marketing jargon on top of it and making millions or whatever you're accusing them of, why can't you or I do that and actually put something useful out there? Like, it's just a tool. To which he said, shut up, and then blocked me, and I haven't heard from him since. I don't even know if he's still around. So yeah, a lot of this is just like, hey, have you ever considered that this is just a job and you should maybe take it seriously? I don't think anybody really did. As it stands now, so like the state of the manosphere. State of R.A. Stone. We are at just about 6,000 people, which is great because, like, what month is this? We'll go back to January 1st. Like 5,700. And 4,000. 3,000, 3, 4, 5. That's like a good 1,000 to 2,000 people a year. And I'm like, that's nice. Like, that's nice to see. It's a moderate amount of people that find out about like the books and the content and the YouTube videos and the movie stuff, and they enjoy it and they want to see more. I'm humbled by it. Like, I know the marketing saying is to find 1,000 loyal subscribers, but we basically have 6, which is awesome. After you sent me that link about the whole couch hardcover book suit. Oh, that's good too, because Germany actually has a printing factory, so you get it way cheaper than we do in Canada. Yeah. So the email list is essentially like, that's your lifeline. That is your marketing. That is your TV advertisements. That's everything you need. Of course, you got to get people to there, and that's where Twitter comes in. I fucking hate Twitter. So like the stats, nothing makes sense when you look at Twitter stuff. And everybody's stats are pretty much in line. It's almost like there's like an algorithm, depending on the size of your account, the impressions you'll get, your rate you'll get. These numbers are mostly the same for anybody who's got an account that's like 25,000, same as mine. And I've noticed, and I get it, the charts aren't like perfectly correlated, but if you notice, as soon as you account for the difference in followers versus impressions, they're almost matched everywhere. The amount of impressions you get and the amount of followers you get are linked. So the idea is the more impressions you get on stuff, the more followers you get. Likes, a little less correlated. Posts, again, it's more so about posts' virality as opposed to the amount of them. That's something I didn't know. The engagement rate seems to be pretty standard. Maybe I'm good at it, maybe I'm not. I have nothing really to compare it with. And then this is the other thing. So when you're doing Twitter, like, how do you even do this? And it's like, for the most part, it's just say things that people want to see. I hate to say it, but you really have to pander. And sometimes your pandering is counter-pandering, which is weird. 30 books is cheap per book. Maybe for a scientific book, the paperback would be 15 or so. I pay premium because I want my books to be dual use too. Yeah. Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, the hardcover versus paperback. So what I did on that one, I just figured, because like Amazon's, this is actually something that most people don't know, is, I don't know if you remember inflation. In Canada, at least 20% of your earning power, like 20% of your spending, your ROI, all that, whatever you want to talk about, whatever the value of a dollar is, dropped 20% in 2021. In the States, I'm assuming too. Now, Amazon hasn't changed their funding policy. Their ebooks are still, there's 2 tiers. There's 35% commissions and 70%. So whether you make 70% off every sale or 35%. And the cutoff is like $9.99. That's why you notice all ebooks are $9.99, because unless you charge it $19.99, you're making half as much. And it's at $20 that the numbers cancel out again. But then if you're charging $20 for a book, why wouldn't you just charge $10 if you're making the same? So it really only works if you're charging $30 for an ebook, and nobody's going to pay $30 for an ebook. But now the dollar just dropped 20%. So what I've done before, and before what I would do is just like hardcovers and paperbacks were pretty much at cost. It was like, whatever, as long as it's in there, it's fine. I don't make $1. Most of the people buy Kindles anyway. But then I'm like, you know what? I'll just across the board level it out so everything has the same royalties. Is it a good decision? I don't know. I guess we'll find out. But the Twitter stats are weird too. Like these, I don't think they're really worth analyzing because there's really nothing you can get from any of it. There really isn't. Like, what am I supposed to take from this chart? Nothing. All these stats, they're all just vanity stats. How many shares did I get? Who fucking cares how many shares I got? Impression seems to be the only one that matters. And to be fair, like Twitter has their finger on the scale. So if you get engagement, it's because they wanted you to get engagement. The one thing I do like they did add is how many people unsubscribe, along with how many people do subscribe, which is nice. So I don't have to go to Social Blade anymore. I mean, and again, these stats, none of this matters at all. So the only thing that matters on here is getting people to click on a Substack. Absolutely hilarious, by the way. Absolutely hilarious. Oh, I'll tell you in a sec, Courage, that he's nuking Substack. Any links to Substack, the word Substack, automatically nuked in the algorithm. So it actually makes Twitter very unproductive. So, but that's the thing, is I don't know what to replace it with. There's nothing else out there that's a good top of the funnel activity. Facebook maybe, but like I'm not a boomer and they want my driver's license because I forgot my password and like, oh, you haven't logged in 5 years. So let's have give us your firstborn. I'm like, yeah, no. I'm not doing it. But that's generally how it works. So here, just entertaining stuff, clickbait, whatever, being acrimonious, starting fights, showing summaries of Twitter stuff, whatever. Hey, you like this? Here's YouTube, and here's Substack, and then you get them in here, and then when in here, it's like, here's real work. And that's the one thing I always make sure is that if there's a paywall to anything, take it seriously, do work. So you'll get 2 types of posts. Some of them are like, here, book is coming out, here's an excerpt from it. You're like, oh, that'd be kind of neat. I wouldn't mind reading The Dog Walker, which people are absolutely amazing. Yeah, I'll bet North American inflation hit a lot harder in Europe. I mean, Europe and Canada are kind of in the same boat. So is Australia. Like, we really did just, it's like the biggest unforced error in history. It's kind of crazy. But at the same time, I just like the mechanisms in place in a lot of the e-services. Like, you cannot push that cost onto the consumer. So you have to think about more creative ways to get around it. And obviously just being bigger and better and branching out in new niches, like that's part of it too, right? The whole point of the Dog Walker is somebody has never heard of Red Pill. They don't know what Red Pill is. They don't even care about it. I'm fine with that. They read this. They don't get a whiff of red pilled anything. But like the guys who have done that, they're like, oh, I recognize this. I recognize this. But it's very subtle. It's very realistic. It's not rabble rousing. It's not anger phase. It's just, if this stuff is so accurate to the human condition, surely it should be a compelling character, right? Yeah, sure. And then, so, Orion finally has got its monetization, which is nice. I'm enjoying that. So it finally hit. Yeah, my first $18. How wonderful is that? Thing I like the most is, I'm always scared about clicking analytics when I'm online. Because I'm like, what happens if something bad happens? Let me just double check it before I do this. The paranoia. Oh yeah, we're good. Worried about nothing. This is it, man. Well, welcome to the inner circle. So with Ryan, it was, or with the Ryan Stone stuff, there's like 1,000 videos on there. There are multiple different topics. This one, I'm trying to go completely single use, right? It's it. Movie clips, movie review, gonzo. The fact that the first one took off was pretty amazing. Like, so I was playing around with, they have like a paid, like you can run campaigns to get impressions, basically to speed up the algorithm searching for an audience. And so I did it here for like $100. It gets you like 2,000 or 2,000 views, but then it found an audience and it kind of blew up. So that's really the goal with your YouTube stuff, is you want to have it find an audience. Of course, it's been nothing but hassle. So King of the Kickboxers has been largely nuked from orbit. I had it up there for a while. I got them to approve it, and then they decided against it, and they fucking got rid of it. So if you hadn't watched it, you best watch it. I have a draft of a different version up, which there's no way I'm putting it out because they're just going to kill it. Yeah, no one can watch it. It's like, fuck you. What'd they get on this one? Oh, I think it was the something else happened on the Rambo one. So the Rambo one doesn't make any money, which is fine. Oh yeah, there it was. King of the Kickboxer. See that? Removed. Like, you don't even get it. Get it out of here. So it's nice to see things kind of moving on this one. And then this is the same thing, right? Like, if I'm doing fiction now, like with the Dog Walker and the new one, the new Kowloon book, it's like an easy transition to go from why the movies are good here from a story perspective to, oh, by the way, there's a book coming out. Still, like, my favorite, but nobody cared. Six String Samurai, nobody gave a shit. Well, it's good that you cared, because, like, the algorithm and the audience, nobody gave a shit. I hate you, Marty, so much. You know the one you will watch, though? You're going to watch this one. So this weekend, we got Major League, which is awesome. I think it's hilarious. But then the week after that, there's this one called Spaced Out, like a sexploitation film from Britain from like 1979. I don't know why I remember this one so vividly. It popped on one day on like my satellite dish in like the 90s. And I thought it was just hilarious. And of course, being like a 13-year-old kid or whatever, you're like, oh my God, and there's boobs and they're funny. This is awesome. And then I put it on again because I was like, I've been picking like look at this. You got Major League, The Usual Suspects, like these are all like well received, critical acclaim, $20 million at the box office kind of films. I'm like, why don't I put just some like random nothing that nobody has ever heard of? Yeah. Like, I even had a thing in the script where, because, like, you know that little piece in the middle where I always shit on commies for, like, shitty YouTube reviews? I'm like, I can't do it on this one. Nobody knows about this. The commies don't even know, which is hilarious, because communists love being a coomer and seeing, like, powerful, strong, independent women kidnapping guys and anally probing them and stuff. I'm like, this has got, like, woke written all over it, but nobody cared. And then the British girls... Dude, the British accent in the 70s was musical. Oh my God. Like, you know, you hear British girls now and it sounds like, you know, quakey, maybe I'll be it. Yeah. And you're like, what the fucking quacking like a duck or whatever. And then you hear those ones and it's like they're singing the lines. I was like, oh man. They're like 70-year-old women right now serving tea and crumpets to Malaysian migrants. Like, oh, if they only knew. If they only knew.
You know, the free satellite or cable, and
Yeah.
it was like trans transvestite aliens from outer space or something, and it was just the most bizarre thing. It was just like this movie that you're talking about, just had like giant tits everywhere, and I don't even know if it was like transvestite. So like I watched when I was like 10 years old. I don't even remember, but it was just hilarious. It was like a comedy spoof thing. It wasn't real porn, but it was so
Well,
weird.
those ones are better where it's like actually worth watching something.
Yeah. And what happened to the word transvestites? How come everything went to transsexual? And what was what's the difference anyway?
Well, they're different things. As far as I know, the transvestite is like drag queens are just guys who do it as a joke. Like, I'm just dressed up as a
Okay.
girl. It's fun, whatever. Transvestites,
Oh,
if I'm not mistaken, are the ones that do it as like a fetish. And then the transsexuals are the ones that,
oh, they're serious.
yeah, they're the choppers.
Yeah. Ooh. So the transvestites are the British Army. Gotcha.
That was a real briefing we got, by the way. I've never seen it. We're sitting there in a deployment, and they're showing me 17 slides of drunken British soldiers dressed in drag.
Oh God.
It was the funniest shit ever, man. And then, of course, my buddy had his whole "I fuck fat chick" or "No fat chicks allowed" and like a beer bong on his belt, and he goes out to like, oh man, the most conservative Muslim country. It's like the equivalent of taking him to Mississippi, and he's like, hey, "Let's do this." Like, Jesus. He was one of the guys. He ends up on the Canadian version of The Bachelor in a couple years after that, which is funny as hell because he's such a himbo.
That's hilarious. He's like perfect for it then, huh?
Yeah. Oh, this is thanks you, by the way, for everybody. I don't know, Marty, if you read one or not, but yeah, like the dog walker's doing well. I didn't expect, like, I was hoping it would, but I always have this terror in my mind that it won't do well. But like the first week, it's already pulled like 200 copies, which is awesome.
Sweet.
And then I'll know if it's as well written as I think it is and compelling as I think it is, because this is like the first gen. These are people who bought it because it's me putting it out, or they just saw a new book and they're like, I'll try something out. How these people generally receive it is how the next like 2 years are going to go. So I'm actually very curious on that one.
Cool.
And I
I
think
actually just bought the audiobook for Field Reports. So
oh, that's good.
saw
Yeah, I
your
noticed that
post
one kind
like
of
2
crushed it on the
days ago.
first day out too. Bam.
Yeah.
Good for them. The ACX is all weird though, because this is the only stats that I get for any of my stuff that they don't give you numbers. Like, I don't know how much each unit is worth for me for revenue. And they're all different numbers. There's 18 different categories. None of them are explained. Eventually, they'll send me a report at the end of the year, and it's got some numbers on it that I have to download as a spreadsheet. But there, the whole audiobook landscape from ACX is just like an opaque mess. Todd M, $15 super chat. Congrats on the successful book launch, Couch. Delightful read. Gonna pick up a physical copy too. Oh, dude, you're gonna love it. Oops.
Heartfelt times 3.
Yeah. Well, no, it's. I really did make this to be like a piece of art. Like, I just look at it sometimes and I'm just like, was I this? I don't mean to brag, but like, dude, this is good.
Like the cover, the artwork, and everything.
Well, like the cover and the artwork is one part of it, and then the design and the choices I made. Like, you got to think about the different user experiences, and this is going to sound weird, but like sometimes just having it sit up on a bookshelf, like, is that going to look good? It definitely looks good compared to what I want. Then there's like sitting on the coffee table. If you're sitting on if you have a date and you have this on the coffee table, is somebody going to read this, or is somebody going to ask you and like get the ick? And then there's when you open it up, like what's the actual stuff? And it's just simple stuff, right? Like I think I can actually do this now.
Well,
So I know those are, yeah, that's just the headers. But if you look at it, you just kind of, the best way to do this is you actually turn it upside down, because then you can't read it. You just see it as like shapes. And it's clean, and it's like shoveling your driveway. Nobody will ever notice this, ever. And the only time people notice it is if you screw something up. And I'm not going to say it's perfect. There's things on there I'm like, I could probably tweak this a little bit, and I'll probably be tweaking it for the next couple months. Heck, when it came out, day one, or no, the week before it came out, my girl actually like went through it line by line, and she like grilled me on every decision I made. And I was like, all right, is this on purpose or is this not? I'm like, that one is. Spelled bed wrong. There was like 3 spelling mistakes in the book, and she found all of them, which is awesome. So the launch went much better than they usually do. What makes you think Marty Hart about the Kingdom of Siam? What's about you in the Kingdom of Siam, dude?
I don't even know what that is. What's the Kingdom of Siam? I'm not a nerd, remember?
So Siam was an old country. It doesn't exist anymore. I think they call it something Filipino or something. Siam. Asia? Oh, Thailand. I think he's saying you diddle ladyboys.
Hey, they don't count.
Back to those movies, dude. There's so many like awesome sexploitation films that I remember from back in the day. I don't know if you remember Flesh Gordon.
No, I don't.
Yeah, that was like a Flash Gordon, and it had some Jason and the Argonaut stuff in it, but it was like it's like a sex spoof as well as that one. And then there was the Toxic Avenger and the Toxic Avenger 2. It was just your superhero movie, but it had 80s camp and a lot of boobs in there for no reason. Police Academy kind of went that route too. And the other one, oh, what the hell was this one? It was not Flesh Gordon. Damn it, I'm drawing a blank. But they all had kind of the same thing as like, yeah, there was nudity because it's like, oh my god, these guys are so degenerate. But then they just had fun with it, and it was funny. It was humor. Yeah, it's like they don't make boobs funny anymore.
Was Toxic Avengers the one where they had a mouth, like a big mouth, like where the belly button is, like your stomach?
No. Toxic Avenger was a janitor that got bullied by a bunch of chicks and knocked into a vat of toxic waste.
Yeah.
And then he turned into this weird swamp. You might be thinking Swamp Creature or Swamp Thing.
No, it's something else. It reminded me of Toxic Avengers, but it was so weird because I think there's like these two stomachs like making out or something. Like
good question.
And tonguing. Yeah.
Like weird. I know there was Ghoulies and I know there was Critters. And that was like the campy, humorous horror, like funny comedy horrors, which they had those ones too. Because Corey Feldman was the one in, I think it was Ghoulies. And it was funny because they had to read some incantation. And they got the kid's sister to read it out. Like, need a virgin to read this. And she read it and then the thing didn't work. And they're like, you're not a virgin? Back then, like a 16-year-old lost his virginity was like a comedic plot. So they had to get like the 9-year-old kid to read it. And it was pretty funny. Like, thankfully, then it worked.
Yeah. Uncle Touchy.
Yeah. And there's Russ Meyer stuff in the 60s and 70s. I'm not even going back that far. Oh, you know what you might be thinking? Tracy Lords did one. Something from the Black, or no, it's like another space one. I just can't remember the name of it off the top of my head here.
There was a lot of those, like space, all the goofs of like Star Trek and Star Wars, like porn spoof.
Yeah. Well, there was porn ones, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about sexploitation. It's like different. The porn ones were porn. The sexploitation ones, it was all softcore. It was mostly just for the humor of it. You'd see butts and boobs, but that's it. Like no schlongs, no penetration, none of that stuff. It was just all in good times. And I realized too, like when you watch Austin Powers, I'm like, oh, I get where his little sense of humor comes from. Because you watch this and it's like everything in there I could picture Austin Powers making a joke about. It's literally Austin Powers, like legit, unironic.
Yeah. Well, last year I went through and I watched like every one of the original James Bonds with the original
Connery
guy. Yeah. And then like I had more of an appreciation for Austin Powers then after that. Because you saw where it was all coming from, all the spoofs.
I honestly, I tried the Roger Moores. I did the one where he went into the swamps in Louisiana, but after that, I was like, dude, I like Timothy Dalton too much. I can't do this. I'm an 80s Bond man. I'm not too ashamed to admit that. Although I should watch the Connery ones. I've only ever seen Dr. No, and I only ever watched it once. And I remember I did like the cool 60s vibe it had. Kind of reminded me of the old Mission Impossible TV series or The Man from U.N.C.L.E. What was some of the other ones there? I think I even watched The Saint a couple episodes. Remember The Saint? You don't remember it? Mac and Me? Fuck off, Mac and Me. I'm not doing that one. Oh, dude, Buck Rogers. Did you guys know Buck Rogers is public domain this year? I actually got it. I was like, dude, I got to read this now. It's public domain. If I can just take anything I want from it willy-nilly, I got to see. I haven't read it yet, but I will. And I'm very curious because like Neo, Luke Skywalker, and Flash Gordon, all those guys, they're all Buck Rogers. The Rocketeer, it's all Buck. Captain America, it's all Buck Rogers. Buck Rogers was like 1914 science fiction hero's journey. So it was like the original. I'd be like, that'd be awesome if you find out like Buck Rogers had a lightsaber. And like, now I can use lightsabers because it's in the Buck Rogers. The Val Kilmer one. Oh, that sucks because like I have to look at, I haven't watched it in forever either. And I was going to be curious if the Val Kilmer Saint would hold up. I remember it holding up. It was him and Elizabeth Shue, wasn't it? And they were kind of doing like the I guess the Jason Bourne thing, but it was before Jason Bourne. I remember it holding up well, but it might not. I've heard Darkman is the same way, where if I watch Darkman again, it's not going to hold up. So, guess we'll find out. Who would I cast for Bond? Who cares? They've ruined Bond. The only good Bond take I've seen in the last ever is somebody saying they should turn them into period pieces. They should be set in the 1960s and 1970s, and that's it. And hire people you don't know, like no recognizable people. Hot brunette chick, random 6 foot tall British guy. Go on it. I'm like, that would actually be nice. Stop treating it like you need to get a thing, because everybody's talking about Henry Cavill. He already did Man from U.N.C.L.E., so he's already got it. I don't think enough movies realize that, like, it's all about branding now, even with Hollywood, right? Because they have, the fuck is it? Everything has to be a sequel because it's got IP for it, right? Or everybody has to big movie star to sell the movie because it's got IP in it. But if you go with like no pre-established IP, no pre-established actors, you can make movies on the cheap. And so that whole, and then if you just market them as if they're big movies, you could totally bring back like the Orion and Cannon film genre, where yeah, your movie only cost you $20 million to make and it only made $60 million, but that's way better than spending $1 billion on a movie that makes $1.3 billion. You know what I mean? Way less risk too. You can make 3 movies, and as long as one of them does well. Like, I didn't know. Did you guys know American Ninja? Do you remember American Ninja? I watched it. I can't do a review on it for Orion because it's such a piece of shit. It's horrible, man. The acting, it's like a goofy melodrama, but it's bad. And it's like if a 6-year-old boy tried to do a romantic like movie with ninja themes. The ninjutsu sucks. The romance sucks. Movie made more than Rambo in the theaters. It's like, what the fuck? Made more than fucking Rambo. Made more than Rambo 3. Rambo 3 made, I think, 183 million. And American Ninja made like 187. I was like, fuck me. No accounting for taste, I guess. Having said that, the second Rambo movie was actually the most popular one. I didn't think about that either. It's literally the worst of the Rambos. And it made like 330 million. Insane. First Blood did well, but not that well. It kind of makes you wonder, you know? Yeah, like for 1 minute total, I'm like, oh wait, what are we talking about here? There's a lot of sci-fi I missed out growing up. Do you know Kelsey Grammer guest starred on Star Trek? Yeah, I know that. He was the captain of the, what's it called? I can't remember the name of the ship. I'm not that good at it, but I remember he was from the old Star Trek, like the 80s ones, and they sent him back forward in time, and they had to send him back to save some stuff, if I'm not mistaken. Or was he in one of the movies? He might have been there too. But yeah, Kelsey Grammer. For some reason, he's like the biggest deal, and I don't understand it. Like, Frasier was okay. It wasn't that good. Whatever. Oh, so it's the love story is cringe. All right, that makes sense. Yeah, no, there's a lot of sci-fi you missed. Oh, sorry, Marty, go ahead.
No, I'm glad that you don't really know who his character was. If you were like full nerd, I don't know if I could hang out with you.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can be. It's just, it's very selective. Like, I'm not just going to be all Star Wars because it's Star Wars. I'm not going to be all Star Trek because it's Star Trek, but like, I'm better than 90% of people out there. But that 10%, man, I can't hold a candle to them.
That's the Korean kids on Tekken. You'll never get there. You can aspire.
Yeah. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with being 90% of the way there towards unrecognizable nerddom.
Oh yeah, going back to James Bond, there was like Aberration, just an awful movie, like right after Sean Connery quit, and it was like I tried to.
Oh, the
watch it,
Lazenby
like,
one.
Acid trip, man, it was nuts. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, the Lazenby, because he was an Australian guy, and it was the worst one, and nobody liked it. And if I remember correctly, too, there was like a lawsuit. Never Say Never Again was a Bond film, but for some reason, they lost, like Broccoli, or whatever his name was, lost the rights to that specific one. So they were able to make their own Bond film, but it couldn't be the double, like James Bond. It just had to be Never Say Never Again. You could have all the same characters, all the same whatever, you just can't use the title. And so they put Sean Connery back in it and like, I thought you were never going to be Bond again. He goes, they gave me a truck of money. What do you expect? He pulled his Harrison Ford. And then they did that one again. which then reinvigorated the series again. And then Roger Moore got in there with that whole 70s camp. And they decided to go all Adam West Batman on it. And then after the 70s, when the 80s kicked in, that's when they put Timothy Dalton in there because they wanted to get Pierce Brosnan, but he was doing Remington Steele at the time. So they had to pick up somebody else to do a movie or two. And then that's when Timothy Dalton came. And I loved the Timothy Dalton ones. I love, like, they're like, you know what? Enough of this just like sleeping your way to the top. Let's have a spy dealing with like drug kingpins that, like, it's had like Scarface meets James Bond. And that's what I just loved about it. They tried to bring that back again with the first Brosnan one, like GoldenEye kind of, but then it got really campy really fast and that kind of got stupid. And then they tried to bring it back to like the serious and gritty stuff with what's the new guy?
Daniel Craig.
Yeah, and then they're like, you know what? Let's make this woke. And you're like, fuck off. That's why I don't care anymore. I'm over it.
Dude, my plan was to watch like every James Bond film in a row, and then I got to that Lazenby one or whatever, and I was like, oh
I
God,
made a horrible mistake.
Such a bad taste in my mouth. I was like, F you, Bond, all of y'all. Like, how could you do this? So, but then I think, didn't Sean Connery do one after that? He's supposed to retire. I guess it was so bad that they're like, Sean, please come back, revive.
No. It's like I said before. They a different company got the rights to a single script, and they hired Sean Connery to come back and play Bond.
Oh.
So they weren't 007, but they were the James Bond. I think it's Never Say Never Again, and they got him to play that one because they gave him a truckload of cash. And that's the only reason he agreed to do it, because he's like, I love money.
One of my favorite Sean Connery quotes was, he was hanging around with some friends, and they're like, "Where's the craziest place you ever had sex?" And they were thinking he was going to say like, "Oh, on somebody's yacht or something." Yeah. He's like, "No." He's like, "Ursula Andress in the ass."
That's even funnier than when he was telling Barbara Walters, like, "Hey, sometimes a lady just needs a little shut up."
Yeah, perfect.
It was the funniest thing too, is like, she was like, "You're supposed to apologize and feel bad." He's like, and he was trying his best to like, all right, fine, look, she gets 3 running off at the mouths, but then she's like, well, you can't do that. 3, and I have to give her a final warning. And he's like, and that's a final offer.
It's perfect. And she was like, "Oh, I got you." And that look that she gives him, like, to begin with, like, "You remember that? You talked about hitting a woman? Yeah, you're probably going to regret that." He's like, "No." And then at the end, he's like, "Well, you know, sometimes you hit her, she might be into that." And he's like, "You know, you never know." And then she's like, "Well, I bet you're going to get a lot of mail from this." And he said, "Female."
Yeah, he knows the game. It's like, it's Sean Connery. And people forget too, before Bond, he was like a bodybuilder. He was like a British Schwarzenegger. I think he did army time too. I can't remember for sure, but so when they hired him, that's like the equivalent of just hiring some male model to play a super spy. It was like Zoolander, but it's been so long, we're like, oh, it's just James Connery or Sean Connery. How do you not think of that? Like, yeah, back then he was just like the meathead. They didn't care. Look at him, he's so pretty, he can't act. He's like, I don't care.
Like top 5, you know, actors just to have a beer with, you know, and hang out with.
Oh yeah. All those old British guys. It's there every now and then YouTube will show me an old one of like Sir Arthur Doyle, I think it is, or who was the guy who played Alec Guinness. And they actually have some pretty cool stories. Like I know they're all like effeminate theater guys, but back then effeminate theater guys were pretty macho. Like even seeing the Lawrence of Arabia crew talking about they got drunk one day and bought a bar in Wales. And the guy came back the next day, gave him the check. It's like, I didn't think you actually wanted to pay for it, so I was giving this back.
Oh my goodness, that's funny.
Yeah, they told him, hey, you can't drink. We got to close up. He's like, well, I'm buying the bar, and he wrote a check and then grabbed another pint. I was like,
wow. Oh, that's great.
Yeah. But I miss all this stuff. That's kind of like the passion part of Orion. I know it's not doing the greatest as far as channels go. It'll slow burn. It'll do as fine as it does, but like you don't see any of this anymore, man, at all.
Oh no, you don't.
Like what's next? Like what does Zendaya do? I don't know anything about her.
Oh God, Zendaya. Could they gotten just the ugliest, like anything uglier, and try to make like polish a turd? I mean, it's just.
You know, if she could act,
see the appeal.
If she could act, I could look past it. If she was like some just amazing character, she's like, yeah, Gangs in New York starring Zendaya, and she just crushes it. you forget all about Daniel Day-Lewis. I'd be all for it, but it's like, if you're putting in there as eye candy and she's not eye candy, it's like, what are we doing here? What are you doing?
Come on, this is the golden era. This is Trump. You don't do this anymore.
Well, that's my only guess is that middle-aged white women like seeing ugly young chicks on screen because it makes them feel better. That's my guess.
Oh.
And then there's possibly a giant Chinese market for when you do films. That's why black people aren't getting as many roles anymore because Chinese people are like racist. But I don't think they like, you know how it's like, oh, you can't tell the difference. Like how a lot of guys, they love Japanese women and they get like the ugliest Japanese women, but they can't see past the color. Like, oh, it's fine. They're like, it's not. I think it's one of those situations too. I could be wrong.
Yeah, you never know.
Or maybe they just like burning money. Maybe the US aid thing, now that they canceled that, Hollywood actually, and China's going to hit a recession, so they can't be funding all these demoralization projects anymore. Maybe, I don't know, maybe Weinstein was actually like the quality control filter that Hollywood needed. Like if he won't diddle you, then like the audience won't buy it. I don't know.
God. Yeah, the government, it's all government funded, so you have to use it or lose it for next year's budget.
So angry about that. There's Canada has the Global Affairs Center, something like a our version of USAID. And this is like the most Canadian thing I will tell you today. It's just like the American one, only everything is gayer and crappier. It's like how you have American Idol, but then you have Canadian Idol, which is just shittier musicians and a Canadian flag stapled on it. It's like, Jesus. That's what it is. Global. It's like, yeah, they had one about teaching Congolese adults not to poop on the beach, which was hilarious because we've had our beach pooping moments. And it was like a couple $1 million, and everything we do, you have to multiply it by 10 to get the context of America. So when we were spending like $1 billion on something, it's like we throwing 10 billion at something in the States, which I'm assuming is a big deal for you guys. 10 billion. Oh, he's doing customer stuff again. All right, let's check out chat. Yeah, Dalton the bad guy and Rocketeer. That's the other thing. Rocketeer, Zorro, surprisingly like well done movies. I didn't think about it at the time. Because at the time it was just, whatever. But that's the kind of one of the things I'm noticing is that we all just had so many good movies that it was just, whatever. Just another one. And then after 20 years of never having a good one, I'm like, oh, dude, Zorro's the greatest thing ever. Rocketeer, give me another one.
You mean the one with Antonio Banderas and Catherine
Yes.
Jones?
Yeah, Antonio Banderas. He had that lantern jaw when he was growing up, man. That disappeared in his older age, but it's that big.
Lantern.
Yeah, well, not like in the Habsburg way, but like in like the chiseled way, like Spanish Chad. Boomers to blame. All the nonsense started in the 80s. Bish, there's actually an old Red Pilled article you'd be impressed about. I wish I could find it. I know it's a whisper one, but he was talking about how demographics are destiny with the boomers. So like the 60s and the 70s were free love hippie stuff. And that's because the boomers were all in their 20s and they just wanted to have sex. And so it's not, normally it would just be a bunch of teens doing teenage things, but now it had to become a global movement and everything had to accommodate it. And then in the 80s, they all turned in their 30s and 40s, and then everything had to be about greed and building money because that's the part of the life they were in. And that's how the 80s kind of happened. And that's why now we're in like this depressing death spiral because the boomers are in their depressing death spiral.
Oh, God. Everything revolves around those assholes.
Yeah. And it makes sense because, like, dude, COVID locked. Who made out like bandits in the COVID lockdowns? Boomers. Their secondary properties increased in value. Everything they own is like hedged against inflation. Everybody had to stay home, watch Matlock. Oh, they were living the dream.
And even then, the older forget they did it. Like during the holidays, I was with my parents.
Yeah.
And my father was looking at my company's public income statements, their tax records.
Uh-huh.
And he was like, "Oh, they had a bad couple of years during 2020 and 2021. What happened? Something must have happened." I was like, "Are you goddamn serious? Like the world locked down for several years because you got scared and you already forgot it." It's like, what the hell?
I know, dude. I'll get angry if I think about it too much, so I'll move on. Oh wait, somebody had something here in chat that was good. Where was it? Oh yeah, we're in
But
the
different.
Japanese, the lost decade. I really do think I think Canada is actually already in it. I think we've been in it for like 7 years now, our lost decade.
So what's the thing about the lost decade?
Well, Japan in the 90s, in the 80s, they thought Japan was going to take over as the dominant, like they were going to take over past the States.
Economy.
And then because of demographics and the aging population in the 90s, Japan basically stagnated. Nothing changed. Economy, GDP flatlined. Real estate, like nothing was getting built. It was essentially just like the way I complain about Canada now, that was Japan in 1991 or whatever. And then until the 2000s, the mid 2000s, they just weren't able to kickstart their economy. And even now, it's very slow going. And then the rest of us are kind of there right now, too. So the only difference is we decided to sprinkle Indians on the problem. And Japan was like, we'll ride it out. We'll build robots. It's fine.
Sprinkle Indians. It's like you got a perfectly good cake, and here, let's sprinkle some shit on top of it.
Oh, dude. It's at the, like, watching these, there's 30% of Canadians, like every liberal Canadian is like, I hate America. They're the enemy. And it's like, what are our two choices right now? The 51st state in America or the 23rd state in Pakistan? Like, what do you want?
Yeah.
The 50th state in China. Like, we don't really have great options.
And then you deport what you just brought in. You know,
we can't. There's no way we're gonna do it.
Oh no, that's too.
Polyev, our guy, our Trump. Everybody keeps accusing him of being Trump. I'm like, dude, that would be great. No, he just did like he did like his own big rally in Ottawa and brought everybody in there, and it was like, yeah, this is the Canada, we're back. And he's like, Canada, and he just undermined Canadian identity. He's like, Canada is an idea, anybody can make it. I was like, oh shit.
Oh, no.
Anybody, doesn't matter your race, creed, religion, country of origin.
No,
come here and you follow the rules and you do. I'm like, fuck you.
It'd been better to go all full defer than instead of that.
Dude, it was. I don't see how they're gonna do it. Like I said, I'm kind of checked out now, so we'll see. We'll see how my next couple of years go. Maybe I'll move to rural Alabama and upgrade my lifestyle substantially.
God, what you could buy here, oh my God.
Dude, I look at that all the time. Every time one of you guys puts up like a Texas house, that's like $250,000 less than my place. I was like, fuck.
Oh no, look at Alabama now, because Texas is even inflated because, you know, everybody's moving there. So Texas used to be cheap like Alabama. Yeah, look here. Well, I mean, don't move here, but you know, nothing.
Even the old crappy places, I'm like, oh man. And then the good places are like, oh man.
Yeah.
There was like, oh, you don't want to go there. That place is expensive. I'm like, yeah, is it? And that's even when I add 30% to the price because I account for the dollar difference. Yeah. My girl was actually a little worried about that. She's like, oh, but if I go there, like, because if I get my visa, depending on how it works, she won't be able to get hers. So she wouldn't be able to work. She's like, I don't know if I have one income. I'm like, and I start showing the differences here. I'm like, will it fucking matter?
Right. Yeah.
2,400 square foot, 2-story, $250,000. Fuck
dude, you can buy like a plantation here. I'm talking about like 2,000 acres with like a giant, you know, house with like other like little houses around, like for like 2 million. Or like 3 million, something like that.
Now, granted, it's Toronto, but I can pay 800,000 and get a plot of land on the outskirts.
A plot of land.
Like 1 acre, half acre, something like that. Yeah. Jesus. Yeah, so I'm like, would it matter? Because at that point, we just pay cash for a place, move into it, and we're essentially retired. And my income doesn't change. Right. It's like, whatever. And then, like, she's already kind of, like, iffy on her job. So I'm like, why don't you just work from home? And then if they force you back in the office, you just say no. And then you put it on them to either solve it or accept that you're too valuable to get rid of. So we'll see.
Well, this is also keeping in mind that not too many Canadians move there and try to make it like Canada again.
I don't know how many do. To be honest, I don't think many do, because 10%, you know this, at any given time, 10% of Canadians are expatriated, mostly to the States.
Yeah, but those are the wealthy who have a good...
Well, no, they're not the wealthy ones. there. The wealthy ones tend to be wealthy because of like government subsidies and shit here. The ones who are there are the ones who are like good at something. Like if you're talented, you're probably moving to the States and working on the citizenship.
Good business people who have a well-to-do company who move there for better taxes.
Yeah. Well, not just that, the professionals. If you're in any skill, like any job here, business analysts to IT specialist, anything, lawyers, you're pretty much guaranteed, even taking into account the 30% arbitrage on the US dollar, you'll probably be making 30-40% there of what you would make here. Like we just do not pay our professionals that. Doctors and nurses, you wouldn't believe, like Canada, this is one of our reasons our healthcare system sucks. We subsidize the hell out of doctors and nurses here with our education, right? So we pay like 1/10 of what America pays to train them. But then as soon as they get their certifications, they go down to the States because they can earn money there. So Canada's like, oh, that sucks. We have no doctors. We have no nurses. Let's import a bunch from the third world. But then the doctors' unions are like, well, we can't trust their doctor certifications. They're not the same as our doctor certifications. And so they have to take 8 years of medical school here in order to be doctors. So the doctors will come here. We'll bring them in. We spend a bunch of money to encourage them to come. And then they have to drive fucking Uber because they're not allowed to be doctors. So like, and then the doctors are all like, oh man, it's so stressful. We need more doctors. It's like, we deserve everything we get. It's just, I've never seen, it's like Keystone Cops on a national scale, man.
Oh,
Absolutely ridiculous.
It's no different than Europe.
Europe's the same way?
In Europe, yeah, exactly the same way. Not even just doctors, nurses, engineers, various other professionals.
Yeah.
When we need them, we get them from another country. Oh no, your degree doesn't meet our standards. So, but it takes, and they don't even get a discount. They don't need to, let's say, just update their certification. No, they need to do it all over again, the way from scratch.
So of course they're going to go to the States. Like the States at least figures it out. If you got somebody who's really talented, don't quibble about the small stuff like that. But then what's our solution? Let's bring in unskilled. Let's sprinkle some Indians on the problem. And now we got guys that can't do the job. Like it's so bad here. There's like whole TikTok channels devoted to either calling out the Indian and Pakistani scams that get guys into here under like fake credentials and stuff. And then the other one is those fake credential scam guys teaching other Indians how to do it. And they're like competing for timeline dominance. Like I still laugh. There was this one guy who was earning like $120,000 a year as a business analyst for Toronto Dominion, the bank. And he's making TikToks about how you scam free food out of the food banks for the homeless. And I was like, holy shit. Bank didn't even fire him. They're like, dude, delete that account. Don't talk about this again. Like, all right, fine. And it's funny because, like, yeah, again, when you see our conservatives are like, oh my God, we're so poor now. Do you know how many food banks they're running out of food? And it's like, yeah, no, it's the immigrants taking it. It's not the poor here. But I mean, whatever.
Yeah, the immigrants know the rules better than the locals.
Well, they just know that we aren't enforcing them, so they're like, they can just do whatever. Don't want to be impolite and tell the brown guy maybe you shouldn't steal from homeless people at the church, but
otherwise you're a racist and they drag you to court.
Oh. Well, that was the funniest thing I saw on Mark Carney, our globalist banker, who's just it's like if Elon Musk started talking as if he was the president. That's what he's doing right now, hoping to win the Liberal Party election to become the new prime minister until the election happens. Problem is he doesn't even have a seat in parliament, so he's just like he's not allowed in the building. So he can run the country, but he's not allowed in the building. I don't know what to make of that. But he was taking like a press conference with his curated list of things, and this one Pakistani businessman news reporter started asking him a question. I just watched, like, even the globalist lizard people are like, I can't take this, man. Like, I'll see if I can get a link. It's just so funny.
What happened?
There it is. Here, I'll put a link into the chat in the thing here. It's just so good. Guy Fortisax. I don't know what his deal is. I know he's like a me who hasn't given up on the country yet.
Oh no, poor guy.
Yeah, well, I mean, whatever. I'd rather be him than me, but here we are. Yeah, this one here. He's calling him Dark Carney, and it was just funny because the guy is just babbling about his credentials and stuff just to ask a question. He's like, and it's a 1.5-minute video. And what he asked him was, what are you going to do that's different than Trudeau? Took him a minute and a half to get through that. And the whole time, like, you remember Trump's thing? It's like, I don't know what he's talking. I don't know what he's saying. Can you speak up? He's like, I got nothing. It's that. And he's sitting there and he's like, I can't roll my eyes because the cameras are on me. I can't be dismissive. I can't laugh. I have to sit here and pretend like thoughtfully listen to this babble. I can't tell him to hurry up. It's like,
I don't even think he knows what he's talking about.
yeah.
Poor guy.
Oh yeah, and then Europe, you guys, America's like, you know what? Either you guys stop arresting people for tweets, or we're pulling out of NATO. And then Europe is crying, like literally crying. The German chancellor.
That was so funny. That German faggot. Yeah, because like after like he doesn't say anything about JD Vance's thing. He just starts crying. Oh, the bad man. He talked about us. Ooh,
he told me to stop arresting people for talking about me. Starts crying, and then the girl, I don't know who the chick was, but he starts hugging her, and it's like, who is this? Who are these people? Remember, it was only like a generation ago that Germans were high on meth, just like storming barefoot through Russian snow to start stabbing communists. Like, what happened, man?
For real, dude.
Yeah.
What happened to the badasses? Like wearing the Hugo Boss like uniforms and the long leather jacket.
Yeah, like surely just switch out the ideology to something else, and it should be the same badasses. Hell, American wouldn't have had movies in the 1980s if it wasn't for badass Germans. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I'm Russian.
We all came to America. All those. Yeah, Project Paperclip was a 40-year project. After we did the rockets, then we had to come in there for not being gay.
Well,
we took all the.
They all got shamed out of it. No, there were some bad people, and they were trying to prevent it again.
Yeah, I don't know whose vested interest in making you guys feel guilty about the 1940s painter scene, but whoever it is, man, they're really pretty ruthless. Somebody should do something about that.
Well, don't forget, they also had an extreme amount of inflation. You could still find pictures of people going to the baker for a loaf of bread with.
The wheelbarrows.
Well,
that was World War I stuff. That was the France.
That was after World War II as well.
No, World War II was the Marshall Plan. America came in and rebuilt everything to make sure that didn't happen, and then that was when Germany, Japan, and America were like their three economic centers. And so they built those up to be the three big places. That's why Germany has like, I think they're number 3 for worldwide exports. There's like America, then China, and then I think Germany's the third. So Germany is the factory of Europe. Japan used to be, but then China took over. But yeah, because World War I, it was that, because there was the Versailles Treaty. France did. I actually liked World War I more than II, but it's just me.
Canada, go Canada.
And that's when they had because of all the reparations they had to play to, because they wanted to get punished. Like the Allied powers were trying to punish them for trying this shit. And so they had to inflate the currency to pay all the reparations, what caused the hyperinflation. And that's why, like, from the beginning of the workday to the end, things would go up in price like 200-300 times. And that was how a certain artist, I'm trying to euphemism it here, a certain artist got a stranglehold by saying, hey, how about we just stop doing all this crazy thing? We'll build a car, and then we'll get the economy back on thing. And they're like, that's cool. Any other ideas? They're like, I got one, but you're not ready for that yet. Right?
Oh, man, don't worry. It's so funny. A guy who lives not too far from me, actually has one of his original paintings, and he paid a shit ton of money for it. It's ridiculous.
Really?
It's a small little thing that's like shit, and he paid like 20 grand for it.
That's it? You figured they'd be worth more? Heck, I actually am surprised. I figured, there's got to be a certain special interest group that would try to buy all of them and finish their collection.
It's extremely small, man. It's not even an A4 format. It's extremely small.
Yeah. Well, Mona Lisa's small too. Everybody forgets that. It's only like the size of a sheet of paper.
Oh, yeah. It's even smaller than the Mona Lisa. It's real small.
Yeah. But I just assumed there was somebody like, you remember the Avengers? They kept going into South America and murking a bunch of people, murking a bunch of Argentinian nationals. Dude, my euphemism game's on fire today. I just assumed there'd be some artist collectors that'd be like bringing them for the burn bin. Because, you got to punish the people that burn books by burning all their art.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah. Yeah, see, Covert gets it. Technically, World War I never ended. Cold War. I kind of treat it like the armistice, or is it, what's this called? The armistice? Like when the Korean War didn't end, and then they just carried it over.
Oh yeah,
but
one of the two parties fell out. Japan and Germany fell out, and it was just U.S. against Russia.
Yeah. Well, I have to admit, I got to make a choice now, because like I know a decent amount of World War I and World War II, and I know a decent amount of like Warhammer 40k lore, and I know a decent amount of what's the other one. But like you have to make a choice, like which direction do you want to hyper focus on? World War II. Oh, ancient Rome. And I know a little bit about ancient Rome, but not all of it about ancient Rome. So like, do I become one of the ancient Rome guys? Do I become one of the World War II guys? Or do I become one of the Warhammer guys? And I haven't decided yet.
Or ancient Greece?
That's kind of lumped in with Rome. It's the same way as World War II. You kind of look World War I stuff up too.
I've got the oh shit, somebody's coming in.
Like I could do Canadian history, I guess, but like I don't think it's legal anymore.
It needs to be swept on the rug, like they did with the World War One events of the Canadians.
Look at Christopher Nolan's Odyssey is gonna help. Is gonna slap. No, it's not. Didn't everybody get mad that they got the helmet wrong already
Ryan,
and the armor's wrong?
Ryan, have you forgotten you gave me the wrench? That ain't me.
Oh, that is not you.
How do I do this? God damn it. Oh.
Billy figured out the best way to invade the chat is by acting like a decent person he can hide for lengths of time by not being tarted. Crazy. If you just act like a normal person, nobody cares.
He does for one or two comments, and then he can't help himself.
Yeah. I just don't understand it, man. I really don't understand. Especially for this stream. I'm not that big of a channel to have hyperfixation.
I guess you were one of the few people who accepted him for the longest time.
Well, I just told him to act like a normal human being, and then he acted like a normal human being, and then he spurged out, and I was like, all right. And girls just automatically get the ick, and they just go off. So I'm like, hey.
But even when a guy can have that, I had it several times with a couple of other guys. I was, so this is what women mean.
Yeah, for me, I mean, it's a lot of it's just you do risk. Like, no offense to you guys in the chat, but there's like an element of risk management here where I look like, what are these guys capable of doing to ruin anything? You kind of figure out like what level of trust can you give somebody in a live YouTube chat, and I'm like, all right, that level of trust is fine, no more than that.
Well, you can see it at times in Rolo's chat, for example, sometimes, but also, especially the bigger guys like Asmon Gold. Gold
dude.
Gives a lot of leeway, but at a certain point, he does also pull the plug on certain people. They're like, no, you're getting a bit too far ahead of it. And
I don't even know how guys like Asmon can do their chat, because I remember I watched a PewDiePie live stream once, and his chat was set to slow mode. I couldn't read any of the comments. They were scrolling by so fast that like there was nothing you could see. And I'm like, at this point, why even be in a chat? Like here it's slow enough you can still see it.
I don't know. I'm just watching videos, never a live one, so I don't see how fast it goes. And then when I see the replays or the segments, the clips, it doesn't seem to go that fast. And it must also be there's a limit on there. It has certain limitations.
Yeah, you can slow it down. Like technically, if it gets fast enough here, I'll probably set it up where you're only allowed one comment every 60 seconds. Maybe make it longer than that.
Like Dante did on his Discord back in the day.
Did that work?
He did it near the end, so I don't know how it would have gone if it did earlier, but he did it near the end, so it was a bit of a pain in the ass when you have more like a conversation in text. Then it's more like a drag. Then if you do it like more in comment section, yeah, I can see it work. If you do like an actual conversation between people, then it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah. And yeah, X Runner's right too here where he says like subscriber only mode helps. Absolutely does. Oh, that's actual X Runner. Actually, wait, do me a favor, X Runner. Send me a thing in the are you in the T-Rex chat, right? Just put something in the general chat so I can double check that that's you. Should give you a wrench so I can tell you're not a Billy or something.
I've never known him to copy X Runner so far.
It's because he doesn't know who he is. Here we go. I hate how I have to use the moderator duty just to be like as an identity confirmation. Fucking hell. I don't know. Just it should be so much. I really hope that the idea is we're like in 1978 America right now, and the 1980s is coming in the next little bit, and I really hope that's true because I was just old enough where I kind of caught the tail end of that, where I saw like the Mulrooney, Thatcher, Reagan 80s, and everything was going great, and then hearing about the 70s where everything was not going great, and I would love it if we were going there right now. It would make me feel really good about myself.
Wasn't there? But don't forget, like back in the day, didn't you have kind of like a what do you call it? Not a slow motion, but a delay in effect of when changes happen because everything was still analog, so there was a delay between the decisions and the actual effect that they would have, especially when you're in more like a rural area like you were back in the day.
Maybe. I was a kid. I don't fucking know. I'm just talking broad trends here. I don't know how fast or how slow things will go, but like I said, it would be nice to find out that cyclical nature of history thing is real.
Oh yeah, good times and that shit.
It just, I was saying it yesterday in the Patreon. It's for as well, and I'm not bragging. I'm not saying that at all. It's not what I mean. Like for as well as I'm doing, it shouldn't be this hard. It's the weirdest thing. Like if you would have told me, like I'm probably doing better for my, and I don't want to just like brag about numbers because like they're not. I'm sure there's guys in here that have better numbers in their life, but if you had told me 10 years ago I'd be earning this in the military when I was in the military, I wouldn't have believed you. If you'd have told us when I was working corporate, I wouldn't have believed you. Now that I'm here and it's like, geez, like I'm still at the point where if I go out to dinner, I have to think about it first. Like there was a brief period just before COVID where I was just like, it's Tuesday, fuck it. But now I have to think, do I really want to go out? It's like, nah, let's make something. I just don't like that. It's like the Campbell's soup moment all over again.
And then, but there's also a point of a certain perspective. You need to have a certain perspective on things because, like when Europeans hear the numbers you guys talk about, it seems ridiculous because of how the differences between the values of various things, not only how the taxes work, not only the literal monetary value, but also the jobs and how everything is, especially with the taxes, how everything is divided. Like
what the idea of a 1-bedroom condo being $1 million is weird in Europe.
Yeah, it's extremely weird, especially no, it is Amsterdam has this. Amsterdam, for example, has this. Their prices are ridiculous. Those are almost like Canadian American prices. But
well, America has like great prices. It's Britain, it's the Commonwealth, it's Britain, it's Australia, and it's Canada. They've propped up. It's at the point that our real estate market is like 25% of GDP or something like that, which is insane. And it's all built on debt. And the only reason that it still looks good is because people aren't selling because they don't have to. So for them, they just look at their property value and it's like, oh wow, I'm worth like $3 million now. That's awesome. I bought my house for $100,000. But like I'm pretty sure if you get a bunch of people trying to sell it all at once, that number's going to evaporate. But we're still in the high of like, oh, spreadsheet goes up.
Well, I must be careful because I've never thought about this clearly in a conversation with somebody who's not from here. But it's not only that; it's also how we express things. Like most of the Americans and I think Canadians as well, you express things in yearly earnings before tax.
Yeah.
And before costs, we don't.
Oh no, you guys usually talk about like net take home, don't you, per month?
Yeah, we talk about net take home per month. We don't express things in years, so that gives kind of at least where I'm at here, so that gives us a bit of a a skewed view about things if you don't stand still and think about the differences.
See, I'm going to convert that for the most part in my head. Like if somebody's earning 60 grand a year, they're probably taking home 2K after taxes, 3K at most. If somebody's earning 100,000 a year, they're probably taking like 5-6 home. Like I get that. Or for 100K, sorry. So it's usually pretty easy. To be fair though, for the most part with Canada, all you do is just whatever the annual income is, just divide that by 10, and then you divide that number in half, and that's probably what they're making. Which is pretty bad.
It's no more different than here.
Yeah, fair. And all of our, everybody's like, oh, but you guys got great the social safety net sucks. I've never been applicable for any of it ever in my life. No EI, never like the hospital, like none of it. And so it's kind of like, who's getting all this money? And then you kind of realize I had to go to the hospital once during a Christmas. My girl broke her hand, and oh my God, it's like, I get where it's all going now. It's all going to like, you know what? I'm not going to get demonetized. You guys know.
Why'd you break your hand?
I didn't break mine. She broke hers. She broke her finger. We went to.
So why'd you break hers? What'd she do to make you break it?
Dude, the Sean Connery rule. I asked her thrice, and then I waited again. No, we were off on like a vacation. We went to like the middle of the woods in the snow, and the first day out, she slipped on some ice and broke her finger, and she was complaining about it the whole time. And I told her to stop crying like a baby. It's just a sprain. And then we got home. She's like, "No, it really hurts." And then they checked her, like, "Oh, that's a fracture." Like, I told you. So she had like a 4-day fracture. I was just like calling her a baby for. It's pretty funny.
Dude, my stupid wife, like, she decided for her first ultra marathon, she decided to like up and down a mountain, like in Georgia, and it's like also freezing. So there's one part where she has to go down these steps, and it's like a 50K. Like, so, anyways, she goes down these steps, and there's still like frost on them. And
Right.
she slips and she grabs this railing. When she grabs the railing, like it rips like her shoulder and her bicep like off. And she didn't think it was that bad, but she knew it wasn't good. So anyway, she had one of those vests on for like your water or whatever. So she just tucks her arm into it and runs like another 20 miles. Keeps going. So, but yeah, you stupid woman.
Oh, wait, sorry, in the chat there, I forgot Dougie Ford gave everybody a $200 check. I actually got one of those.
Ooh.
I forgot about it though. It's just been sitting on the table. I got to do something with it.
Is there an expiration date on it?
I have no idea. I'm just mad. I'm like, he's trying to buy an election. And I get it. Ralph Klein used to do that in the 80s too, but I'm like, our inflation is screwed. You guys are in like $1 trillion in debt. Why are you handing me a stimmy check? Dumbass.
About 3 weeks worth of dog food with it.
Actually, that's about right.
There's also the thing about self-control and about people who don't tighten their belts. They keep spending like it's the 90s. It's like, dude, just tighten your belt a bit. Don't give your money to stupid shit.
Dude, that worries me too, because I know there's enough of them now that like, you know that saying, if you owe the bank $1 million, that's your problem. But if you owe the bank $1 billion, that's the bank's problem. Kind of like that, where there's enough people that are so irresponsible, taking out loans on their inflated real estate to buy new properties that didn't learn anything from the 2008 crisis. There's enough people like that. It's like, how is the government not going to try to bail them out and screw everybody over by inflating the currency so they don't feel so bad? I'm like, I don't see it happening.
Well, I kind of get it, because I got my house through a public sale because somebody who spent too much money on their renovations, but they couldn't make it back.
Yeah.
They had to file for bankruptcy because they were an interior designer, and the bank was only able to recover half of the debt on the house that they still need to cover, because nobody wanted to buy the house for the amount that
you know what sucks? You know what sucks too here with that is no, that's the real Orion. That was me. I'm switched to the count for the thing here. We have that here, but they have protection laws where the bank is not allowed to do like a fire sale of any of their stuff they foreclose on. They have to charge the market rate for it, so they don't cause a decline in the housing values around. So it's at the point we can't even do that. Like the states used to have that, like $1. You buy a place for $1, they just get it off the books. Like, it's illegal here.
No, they still need to Well, no, they don't. I know a guy who was able to buy a house for only 20K, because of there was only the amount the bank needed for to close the loan that was put on it, the
See
mortgage.
that makes sense. If the bank is still owed 200,000 on it, then you can charge 200,000 for it to get that back. I understand that. But if the house
No,
was
this
worth,
guy,
oh, what was you saying?
this
Oh, the
guy,
guy was selling it to get the
yeah.
difference.
In my case, they had to the buy the loan, the mortgage loan that the person before me for the house took out over 200K, but nobody wanted to buy it for the price never got to it. It had a starting amount, but it never got to the height to recover the entire loan. So they made a loss on it. But
Oh,
that was in my case. But another guy I know, he was he had to also did it. He was one of those guys who buys up places, puts them back together, and then sells them off. And he was able to make a deal. The owner of the house died. He still had a loan of 20K.
yeah.
Nobody else was interested, and he also functions as a straw man. So he simply asked the bank, how much do you still need to cover the loan that's open? He
Yeah,
said,
yeah.
this is the amount. Oh, it's nothing. Okay, here, 30K in the end.
How
Simply get a
funny is
loan
that?
done. For the
Right.
houses, that's maybe like 250.
Not bad then, I guess. I see in the chat too, Sean's adding to it. Nearly all eating out's a waste of money. Food for slop. Eating out is like eating out is like an experience, and I know that sounds goofy to say that. Sometimes there's just food that I could make it at home, but sometimes the ingredients are things I don't normally buy, so I don't want to have to eat like very fancy ramen all week, and I have to spend like a whole day making char siu pork or whatever. So I'll go out to there. Sometimes it's just because you get to be lazy. Sometimes I just have a hankering for like a McDonald's burger and I don't really care. That's fine. But
Sometimes
I agree. It's like a disposable income thing. It's like Starbucks. I can make perfectly better coffee at home, but sometimes I just want to go in there and grab one of their sloppy drinks.
or sometimes people are just lazy and stupid. I used to
Yeah.
work in a restaurant, and I think it was during Easter
Yeah, yeah.
or Mother's Day. It doesn't matter. It's like there are a bunch of reservations. It's a holiday where a lot of people are going out. Most of the places are closed, and then there are people who come in. They absolutely want a table, but everything needs to go fast because they need to go visit family, but they want their dinner right here and now, where it's a holiday, where almost everything is reserved, and you want it to go fast. It's like, what the hell is wrong with you people? Don't you have a brain?
Oh, so they just don't
Why
want to
did
cook.
yeah, they didn't have a reservation. It's a fucking holiday, and then you want everything to move fast while the place is packed, and you don't have a reservation. It's like, get the fuck out of here.
Wish you luck, sir. On the other one, the idea of a real estate market where there's no buyers is so foreign to me, I don't even know how to comment. Dude, a real estate market where I can look something up on MLS and put an offer in is foreign to me. I have never not seen Canada in a property bubble where you have to make an offer like 5 minutes before they put it up on the thing in order to get a price, and you have to offer like 40,000 over asking to get there. So this whole thing where like a thing will sit on the market for 3 months, I don't know what to do with that. I've never seen it before.
Here it's
And
happens
then
all the time. My parents have it with their house. They're selling their house because they're empty nesters. The house is too big for them, and it's been sitting there for 3 months exactly. So
interesting.
it
Yeah, I've just never.
happens.
I wish that was the thing. That would be awesome. Oh, and then the other one here: illiquidity of markets is the real threat, not deflation or inflation. I mean, it's a little bit of all of it. Deflation wouldn't be bad. I don't know. As far as I know, it wouldn't be bad. It's never going to happen. Nobody will ever deflate the currency. And the illiquidity, I get that part. But inflation is bad because inflation increases house prices because it's a hedge against inflation. Housing always is. But then the problem is if your earning power hasn't increased along with that, you're being priced out of your own market through inflation. That's what's kind of happening in Canada. Inflation has gotten so bad, the dollar has gotten so devalued that you're still earning the same dollar amount that you were in 2000, but the housing prices are now like the value of the same cost in 2000. Does that make sense? But then that's 10 times as much money.
Yeah.
Did I accidentally time out the real Ryan, the Orion?
The one that said, "Oh wait, Dougie gave me 200 last month." The way
Yeah,
you can tell it's
that's
me is because of my horrible spelling. When I'm on stream, I can't spell for shit.
oh, dude, your tweets are the worst, and it's like that do not give a notice. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I understand. So whatever, it's just a tweet.
He needs to get Nick August a raise and have him be his editor for his.
No, what
for
happens is Twitter needs to make it
as
worth
well.
my fucking while to spell check it. Because, like, why? It's already going to throttle my reach because, oh, heaven forbid I use the word Substack in there, or I didn't, like, suck Elon's dick or whatever it is. Or I cuss. Oh, heaven forbid I swear. So as soon as I swear, I'm like, what the fuck does it matter? I don't care.
They pull the plug on all the links of all the external. I thought they pulled
Well,
the plug
there's
on
two
all the
things.
external.
There's the link one where if your link's in the main tweet, they throttle it. So you're supposed to put it in the comment below or do an article, I think. But then there's the other one because he tried to buy Substack and they're like, nah, man, we're going to do our own thing. So he's like, fine, nuke any reference to Substack on this. And it's just, so it's at the point that I have to basically pin the tweet, go viral, get people to look at my profile, and then they can see the Substack tweet. Like, that's the only way I can get them through. And it's such like a convoluted thing. I'm very annoyed with Elon. Thank you. I can now talk about troons with impunity. That's great. But like, I'm running a business here. I really don't care about the culture war.
So Elon Musk being petty.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm not going to say I preferred it, but I didn't mind it back when it was like the wrong thing will get you canceled. Because like people were coming up with like Troon, the idea of talking about a Troon or a Transformer, that kind of creativity came out of like the Jack Dorsey Twitter. And I'm like, dude, Troon is hilarious as a term. I think it's funny as hell. You can't talk about that anymore. Coomer, like all these terms, they're goofy little internet things, but they got like a jazz to them, you know? And now everybody's just like, you know what? F these, and they start throwing out the slurs, and I'm like, hey, great. The F-bomb just isn't, it's not as magical as it used to be. Maybe I'm just getting old.
It's overused.
Yeah. I used to love throwing it in there too. Now I'm just like, I don't want it. I'm like, I don't even care. It's like when Canada made weed legal. Like I had just gotten out of the military a year before Trudeau started doing that. And I was in Montreal. I'm like, all right, the military is like no weed forever. So I'm like, fine, I'm going to go try it. I'm going to see what the big deal is. And I was like, yeah. And we got into all that and it was fun. And then they made it legal. And I was like, I don't want it anymore. And I just quit. I'm like, I don't like this.
No, maybe you're just a genetic freak and it doesn't have the same effect on you as it does on the other.
Oh, no, no. So when I was in Orlando at a convention that shall not be named, it was me and Rolo and Jack Donovan, AJ Cortez, the Johnson kid. There's like basically everybody in the manosphere was in this room, and they brought out a pen. And I was assuming it was like Canada, where it's like 6% THC. And so I'm treating it like it's a normal whatever. It was like 25% or something stupid like that. I almost died, man.
Woo-wee.
My body temperature dropped like 20 degrees. It's like I had to hold on to the floor so I couldn't fly away. I was like, what the hell? Yeah, no, it does hit me, but it was more so I liked it when it was sort of illegal but not enforced. Like I liked that level of it. It has a little bit of like F you, dad. And that was like it had just enough of that. And then they made it legal. And then they put them in like toothpaste tubes, and they had like a bunch of Redditor hipsters running the stores. And I was like, how did you make drugs gay? I'm out.
So
I left.
You became a teenager again for like a hot minute.
Yeah. Well, I've never in my life. And that was the whole thing. I'm like, I got to see, because my stepdad was big on drugs, and so I'm like, no, I'm going to university.
I mean, they're having the rebellious phase.
Yeah, so I had a brief like 9-month rebellious phase after I left the military where like, fuck you can't tell, nobody orders me anymore. And then they're like, oh, it's cool now it's legal, man. And I was like, oh, you fucking. And I threw out a slur and I quit. I am done. I like it better when you're not allowed. I like when they say no. So what's the equivalent of that now? Tax avoidance, really. That's the equivalent of like drugs now. Not paying your fair share so that way the Pakistani migrant can go do whatever the hell on your dollar. Ruin some public festival that you liked going to back in the day. The hell?
Is it Pakis, Indians, Afghanis? What is the majority? Sikhs?
A little bit of all. Hey, Marty, are you here?
I think you gave Marty
Hey,
a
hey,
wrench.
for a second,
I
and
gave you a wrench, didn't I?
yeah, in here,
Yeah. No, in
no,
the YouTube, yeah.
yeah. Hey, that's
It's not
great.
the real Marty.
Good.
Heard.
There was a new
Doing
block
which
function, which is like, I wonder what the hell that's about. Oh, that would be awesome
I
if
don't
they
know
fixed
what.
that.
Out of all the people to impersonate, why me? Like, what's special about me?
Nothing. It's just because I have to spend this 30 seconds trying to figure out, is that actually Marty, what he would say, or is it not? And I'm like, no, that one's not.
And it bothers me when you think it is something I would have said.
Dude, that's the funniest thing when somebody's impersonating you and they act like a moron, and I'm like, damn it, Marty. And you're like, that one's not me. My retarded is quaint and oopsie. This one's just cringe and awkward. That real. Oh, now everybody's asking. Yeah, here, guys. I would suggest don't test the system because they got a new block feature now. So now I might just like play, and I don't think it. I think it's it. Like that's it. You don't pop up on the screen anymore. There's no notification. There's no undos. How fun is that? I hope that works.
By the way, you probably mentioned in the beginning, but why aren't you playing something?
I just don't have the heart for it. I'm trying. I want to.
Oof. Is it the winter blues that's hitting you? Do you have your
Oh,
vitamin D's?
I fully expect that I have a case of the sads right now. I know that much for a fact. But like one more month, man. March is coming. Sun will kick out. I know exactly every, like you guys that live in like Texas and whatever. You don't know the joy of like a miserable January and February.
Here
And then
it's here it's fucking weird right now. Like we went from -2.5, and
Yeah.
today was 17. It's like what the hell from one extreme to the other.
We went to -20 to +3 to -10 to -20 to 0 with like 20-kilometer winds. It's just miserable and dreary. And we had like an entire year's worth of snow dumped on us, and the plows weren't running. So for a while there, it was like winter wonderland out there. Somebody ran over, like there's a like a stop sign on our driveway to get in here, and somebody ran that over with their fucking car. Curbed themselves, and just funny. When I went to the airport, there was an Indian dude. You know how there's like the off ramps, and then they have those big yellow barrels that are sitting there filled with sand or whatever, so you don't crash.
Yeah.
One of them had crashed into that, but they didn't even get to the barrels. They like crashed up against the snowbanks. And he's standing out there dirking, dancing around with his new BMW 3 Series, calling AAA, and I was like, you fucking. My first thought is like, dude, if I wasn't going 80 right now, I'd probably just yell out the window to go back to, and I'm like, oh, do I want to be that guy? Like the angry, go back to where you came from. Like, I don't know. Dude, Lethbridge went from -20 to -5? Dude. That's crazy. Like, because if you guys don't know this, Alberta, like -45 winters, -50. It's Siberia is the only colder place on Earth than Edmonton, fucking Alberta. Holy shit.
I remember, wasn't there a Russian town that was called the coldest when it was like -70 or something crazy like that, or -60?
Yeah, that's the place. That's usually the place that gets #1 for coldest place on Earth, and then Edmonton usually gets like #2 or #3, sometimes #4 if it's a warmer day. Yeah, it's just funny. Northern Siberia and Alberta are the two coldest places on Earth. It's just weird because I remember like you don't take a shower in the mornings because if your hair is not fully dry, it freezes and breaks. It's so cold outside.
Y'all suck.
Yeah, shit like that.
A woman's worst fear: brittle hair.
Like the downtown core, there's electric outlets all over the downtown parking areas.
Yeah.
Like, Marty, have you ever seen an outlet like a 120-volt outlet in a parking lot? Oh yeah, dude,
you mean
they're
like
every.
a 220?
No, a 120, like a normal outlet, because you have to run a block
yeah.
heater onto your engine. Because if you park your car, go shopping, come back, it won't start. So you have to run a heater. And so, like, if you go to the downtown core of Edmonton, there's like electric outlets on every parking spot, so you can park and plug it in.
Yeah, I had a Power Stroke diesel, like a 7.3, and I need to replace the glow plugs, and I never got around to it. So when it got like below 30 or 40 or 30 degrees, it was tough. So I would just hook it up. I'd plug it up to an extension cord every night. Yeah,
Okay, yeah, so you get it.
even down here, South Alabama.
Do you
Look at
remember
that.
the images from back in the day from with the Russians where they were lighting a fire under their car with like wood blocks in order
Oh,
to get
that's funny.
the oil back up?
Uh-huh.
I think it was way back when.
Yeah, dude, man, it would suck, man. If I forgot to plug my truck in and just spin over forever, and then finally, you get lucky and it crank up, then you have like this giant cloud, like a smoke, looks like a bomb went off.
Yeah, I don't miss any of that shit.
Oh,
But anyways, yeah, so like March is gonna come and there's gonna be a morning where I get up like at 5 in the morning and I'm in the best mood ever and I have no idea why. And that's how I know first day of spring is here. And the dogs do it too. The dogs all of a sudden like, today's the greatest day in my life, and they're just amped. It's 5 in the morning, everybody's running around the house on like a coffee high, and we just
that's
woke up.
funny.
And we don't know how it happens, it just happens.
But
Dude,
don't you give
imagine.
no, go ahead, Marty. Go ahead.
No, imagine year round, like you live in like sunny panhandle of Florida or something, and every morning you get up like, oh, hey, is it springtime? No, it's wintertime still. Yeah, F yeah.
Oh, dude, I got a taste of that in Victoria because Victoria gets no snow. They always are 14 degrees all year. Like the summers are cold and the winters are hot, but they're all about like 10 to 20 degrees, which I guess is like 50, I think, in America.
Yeah.
But it's like that all the time, and and it just has a wet season and a dry season, and that's it. So I remember that, and the only thing that sucked about it was because there was no like, oh, I got to get this done before the winter. It usually added a sense of urgency that you just didn't get when it was the same season all year. I don't know if maybe that's just because it was kind of miserable weather, but maybe with the sun that doesn't happen and you're just productive all year. I don't know.
Well, the vitamin D really does affect you, like from the sun standpoint, and that's why, if you do like lay in a tanning bed during the winter, it actually does help with the seasonal depression. Yeah,
Yeah, that's the problem. As I go to a tanning bed and it's like, really? It's for the
crispy
health.
rind.
I don't think they have them anymore here because all the millennial chicks turned 40
Indian
and now they're all like, no, we don't want cancer. Gonna ruin our skin. Got to cancel everything that could possibly be fun.
Don't you take vitamin D pills or something?
Yeah, but isn't that the different vitamin D, or is it the same D?
It's supposed to be the same, I guess.
Oh, then maybe
I
I'm good to
think,
go.
but yeah, but I do that, but I don't know.
It works well enough, but it's true
Yeah.
with the same audio. Like I had when I was traveling to Northern Europe during the summer, where you have the sun 24/7. Like I slept for 4 hours a night, and I was on the road with a motorcycle constantly, like 20 hours, almost 20
Whoa,
hours in the entire day,
goodness! Don't
because
fall asleep.
there was there was that was just the point, Marty. There was no sunset. There was no sunset. The sun shone 24/7. I couldn't tell the
Shouldn't
difference.
the
I
sun
wasn't tired
shone?
or yeah, okay, fine. I couldn't tell the difference between day and night because there was no night. And
Yeah.
despite only sleeping 4 hours, I didn't get tired at all for 3 weeks
Oh,
Hmm.
cool.
until I came back down north. And it was again the difference between day and night. Only then I became tired again.
Mm.
It
Pet
was weird. So
dog.
I get the point. Yeah, you're right.
Here, you're on my headset, bro.
It does help having a lot of sun.
Oh yeah.
Look what they did to my dog. They derped him, man. That tongue has been there for like 3 years.
Derped.
Is it the one without the teeth?
Yeah, he's only got 3 teeth left. 2 canines on the top and 1 on the bottom. He's the one that bit my thumb and took out that chunk.
It must have been a
Don't
good
hold him
thumb.
back.
Well, it's just because when you're a hole punch, you don't need much force. It's like all concentrated on a single tooth. He bit right through me.
God, all the force.
Yeah. It just sucks too because he's the only animal and he's the only thing in this house that has a kill count. A bird was flying around and he snagged it out of the air and brought it back to us and fucking spit it out as an offering to the gods. He's actually got a kill
God.
count. Now he's like the most fragile out of all of them. He acts all fucking weird.
Our golden retriever the other night, she's so funny. She's like a little overweight. She's like sounds like a pig, like grunt sometimes. Anyway, she'll come to the front door and she'll start scraping the front door like for us to let her in. So anyways, we let her in. It's like, oh no, she's got something. She brought us something. She'll bring us something dead sometimes. And so we panicked. Anyways, it was like a deer leg bone, and she just dropped it in the middle of our rug in the living room. like, oh, it was like been for a while. It didn't even have any fresh look to it. Like it was like black around the bones and yeah, nice. But here you go. Love you guys.
We don't deserve dogs, man. They are great.
Oh no. Yeah, they really are.
Right. I should probably pick this off for a lunchtime thing too soon. So you guys got me thinking for tomorrow's podcast. I'm trying my best. Like I can just see myself like ranting about Canada every chance I get a mic, and I'm trying my hardest to stay on topic. I make the Discord. No, it's on max right now. The stupid thing doesn't work. Or maybe I can. Here, let me try.
Did you have an idea for doing something regular with Red Hawk regarding Canadian politics or politics in
Well, like once a month, it's just kind of, if I forget to ask, he'll mention out. It's like, yeah, we should do a collab, and that's sure. Those are for me though, because like nobody fucking likes them. It's always funny because like the chats are always full of like, oh, I was gonna watch this episode, but then you guys came on, like fuck you, and I'm like, all right. And then you watch the stats, it always is like 30% less than the other one. So those are for fun. But they're definitely not like good from a business perspective. but,
and also Red Hawk right now is in full swing with tax season. So.
Oh yeah, that's right. So yeah, he probably won't be here till after April. All right, yeah, I don't think I can turn up the volume to the audio anymore.
I'm gonna do a $5 super chat. Just one of these red mornings, just to drop a bomb. Be like, mention like the Pajit O Canada song, and watch you like rant for 30 minutes.
And they make it so easy. Do you know what the newest one is? So like I can't keep up. The first one was the Canadian US hockey series. Canada booed the Americans during the anthem.
Yeah.
And then we're like, yeah, because we're better than them. And then all these like fucking Karens or mouth breathers are like, yeah, teach those Americans to put tariffs on us. We can boo them. Then America's like, that's fine. We'll just win 3-1. They just crushed it. And there was like just like the worst cross checks. Like as soon as they drop the puck, guys dropping gloves, throwing blows. It's like America's like, you want to boo us? Yeah, it's cool. You got your White House right here. And then for like a minute there, a lot of Canadians were like, dude, what the fuck is wrong with you guys? Get your shit together. The conservative guy, Polyev, he was sitting in the stands. Somebody saw him at one of the games. He was just like in the middle of the thing. He didn't have like a box seat. He didn't have like a giant thing of security. He was just sitting there watching the game. Somebody like looked over, is like, wait a minute, is that Polyev? And he's like, hey guys. And that was it. As opposed to Trudeau, who like took the entire front row, put his security in there, ruined everybody's experience of the game. But then I was like, okay, so we're back to normal now. And then they put an immigrant in the thing to sing the anthem, and she got all the fucking lyrics wrong. And I was like, Jesus, how do you, like, diversity is our strength? And she didn't even do the woke lyrics. Like Trudeau tried to make some woke lyrics that get rid of references to God or whatever. She didn't even get those ones right, which was bad enough. But then I found out from Tom Canuck that they knew they were getting the lyrics wrong. They were saying it as like they changed the lyrics of the thing to stick it to America. And I'm just like, you see what I mean though? Like, don't send that $5 super chat, man. And it's all stupid, petty shit like this. Even other, and I got put in this stupid YouTube rabbit hole. I watched this one guy. He's like, I'm finally out, and he moved to the States from Canada. It was like 6 months ago, and he was talking about I can't do this anymore. And he would mention every reason he wanted to leave, and it was exactly the same reasons that I want to leave. And the thing that got me though is he's like, and there's too many effing Indians here. I was like, holy shit, you can say that on a video? And I looked at the views, like 250,000. I'm like, dude, what the hell happened to YouTube where this can get this kind of traction? He was like flat out like, just too fucking many of them. And then YouTube's like, oh, you like this one, do you? Oh, and they showed me 500 more. And so now I realize this whole grift is there's 3 types. There's the guys who are like, I left Canada, or I'm leaving Canada, and this is why. Like my personal vlog story stuff. Then there's the grifters that are like, I'm leaving Canada, and so should you. Sign up for my course on how to leave Canada. And I was like, Jesus. And then there's the 3rd tier ones, which is like a bunch of Weish dudes going, dude, did you see all these guys leaving Canada? What's up with that? And I'm like, oh my God. It's at the point now that like being fed up with the country and leaving now has become like a niche. Fuck. And then there's like, now there's like the immigrant populations that are tired of all the immigrants, and they're making like Canada sucks now channels. When I moved here in 2019, I was just like, I just get angry. Not get angry.
Didn't the same thing happen in the beginning of COVID when a bunch of people left New York and
Oh yeah, the cities.
Cali-
There was that big,
California? Then
yeah, the big New York food guy. He always does like he makes like special ramen and sauces and that. He moved back with his parents. Like I'm not living in New York during COVID, which is kind of hilarious because he had like a 2 million subscriber channel. I remember one of those anyway. Oh, did I lose you?
some technical difficulties. I heard something weird, something rasping.
Happens. And yes, Chingy, no, we're still saying grape. I don't think we're that over it. I'm still talking about the Austrian painter. I'm not talking about that one. Still talking about grapes. But yeah, we can rant about the migrants. I think it's Mish. I see Mish joined in here, but he just keeps popping in and out, like the clicking. Didn't even notice the anthem. Oh, you watched the anthem? You watched that? Oh, I don't even watch hockey anymore. I'm just so angry. I refuse to watch things that make me angry now.
Then you should play hockey. Do some smashing.
Dude, I haven't been on the ice in years.
I've been talking for the past 3 minutes and my mic wasn't picking anything up.
Wow,
How's everyone doing?
How were you babbling about for 3 minutes that you didn't need anybody to talk back to you? I'm just saying.
Poor Mish was talking about how awesome his motorcycle is, and like, oh, I feel so free riding around, and waiting for us to say something. He's like, starts crying. Please ignore me.
I got the bike. Why don't the alpha males love me?
Nobody likes me now. I have a bike.
You enjoying the bike, by the way?
Hmm?
You enjoying the bike?
Oh yeah, it's fun. It's weird. It's super light, not like a Harley.
Yeah.
Which was a struggle in the first day, just getting used to it. Like switching gears is super smooth. The bike itself is super light. It doesn't look as heavy as it looks.
Did you ride the chicken strips off of it yet, or do you still got those?
The what?
Chicken strips.
What's
Oh,
the
you don't
chicken
know?
strips?
All right. So it's mostly like street racers notice about this, but your tires actually have like a waxy coating on the outside of them when you first buy them. And so what you have to do is like as you're turning corners, if you lean into it properly and do proper turns, which shows you don't ride like a pussy, it'll wear that off. But what'll happen is if a lot of guys are scared to, it just wears the middle, and then the outside still has the wax. And so they call those chicken strips. It was at the point that a French buddy of mine, he bought a Ducati, and he didn't want to do that, but he also didn't want to look like no bitch, so he had like a sandpaper and he sanded it off on the outside. It looked just so weird. Ended up trashing his tires. Yeah.
No, I'm trying to lean into the bike, but I'm still, because the bike is super, super light.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't want to treat it like a street racer. It's a cruiser. It's a bobber in the end,
Corner
So
should be fine.
I'm still learning, how far I can lean without crashing.
And then the only other thing you have to do to make sure you look legit is never ride squid. So don't ever show up in like flip flops and board shorts on your bike. It's just so cheesy.
I only do that in Bali. Like in Asia, it's acceptable to do that because you're riding a scooter, not a bike.
Oh, for scooters, yeah. I'm talking about for bikes. Yeah, riding squid. Bikers laugh at you for that shit.
I don't know which kind of bike you get, but be careful with the pipes. You wouldn't be the first guy whose bike gets flipped because he went too deep and his pipes pushed him off the ground.
The pipe? What do you mean by pipes?
The
like
pipes,
the exhaust pipe?
Yeah, the pipe that goes from your end to the exhaust. Those tubes. There have been a couple of faulty designs, like with Kawasaki had a bike like that. When you went too deep, it would actually push you off the ground, and you get flung around.
Mish told me that it's smooth. It shifts so smooth. It's like a blade going through an infidel's neck.
Smooth as a Airbus through a building.
Oh.
I'm still learning, enjoying the bike little by little, and just shopping like a maniac, dude. I spent so far like $2,000 on bike gear, like jackets, gloves, shoes, shit like that.
Good to see you
What
enjoy
bike
it.
did you have, Mish?
Hmm?
Which one did you get, by the way?
The bike?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a CLC Moto, the 450. A small bike. I don't know if you've seen the picture or not. It's a Chinese bike, but surprisingly, it's very good. Like I've been looking into the reviews of this bike for the past 6, 7 months. Nobody tried this bike and had a bad thing to say about it. Like it has few bad things, but in general, it beats paying 20, 30 thousand dollars for a Harley, especially for a first bike. I'm not gonna drop that amount on Harley.
Not only that, if you want parts for Harley, they're expensive as well. They're like triple
Yeah.
the price.
Yeah,
So
this
you
one,
just
like before I got it, I already ordered shit from AliExpress, like the engine guard, accessories, all of that stuff didn't cost me less than $1,000.
How strict are they about you riding around with assless chaps on?
The what?
I said, I said how strict are they about you riding around with the assless chaps?
Jesus, dude.
Yeah. All right.
No,
I guess I
dude,
should call this one. We should be having lunch and spending time with our loved ones right now. At the afternoon, I'm going to see if I can get another video out and then prep for the thing. I think I know what we're doing for a topic. I think we know. And like Marty, just please don't make me rant about Canada. I'm trying to keep that shit out of my mind. But it's so easy to bring it in there. And I'm not doing this as like bait, like don't do that. I'm like, please don't.
Yeah, all right.
I will fall
Sincere.
for it. Heartfelt.
I know.
All right. Anyways, enjoy guys. Where's the fucking thing? How do I turn this off?
Yo, everyone.
How do you do the thing?
No, I mean like I've lost my window. Figure it
You
out.
don't need to worry, Mish. I just found the bike. Yeah, you're not gonna have that problem with the flipping. You have more than enough ground clearing. Holy shit, it's a high bike.
It's a what?
It's a lot higher than Harley often makes with their
No,
power.
actually, it's pretty low, dude. Like short people, like people who are like 1.5 meters to.
No,
something.
sorry, you misunderstand me. I mean for the ground clearing, you have a lot more ground clearing than Harley does for this type of bike. At least in this case, from what I'm seeing.
Yeah, dude, I'm surprised. It's not a bad bike, honestly. I'm happy with the purchase. Like they delivered it to my house free of charge. They did everything. Like I have a 2-year warranty on it, 2-year full service.
I think I've seen them being sold here as well. I think a couple of dealers have them.
Oh, dude, they have like 700 plus branches all over the world, and they're competing with the big names.
Oh, there it is. All right, there. Now I can end the stream. All right, later, boys.
As long as it's quality.
Hmm?